Hey guys, welcome back. For me, bread is an essential part of my diet and I love to have it alongside soups, pasta and most dishes. I am a big fan of bread rolls and I love eating it as snacks and even use it for dipping. These are so simple to make and they are eggless and they taste just like the bread rolls you get in restaurants. So let me show you how. Let's get cooking. To make the dough, it is very easy. What you need for sure is yeast. I'm using dry yeast here. You can use wet yeast if you have. Now there are various ways of adding yeast to make your dough. One way is where you add the water into the yeast with a tiny quantity of sugar and you leave it aside for 10 minutes for the yeast to swell up and then you make a dough out of that. The second way which I'm going to show you is again correct and it's again a lot simple. I've got water here which is at room temperature. Never use water which is cold. It can be slightly warm but never cold. So this water with room temperature, in goes in my yeast, sugar helps to activate the yeast, salt. A lot of people do not add salt in the breads and that's very wrong. Salt gives a very nice flavor. It brings out the flavor of the food well. Oregano. Now I am using a dried oregano, but you can use fresh rosemary. You can use any herb which you like. If you have cilantro or coriander, you can add that. It's your choice. If you like it spiced up, you can add some green chilies or even some red chili powder. It's all your flavor which you want to put into the bread. This is a very simple one and it just got oregano in it. I'm going to stir that together. A tablespoon and a half of vegetable oil. Stir that together. I'm going to put a cloth so it doesn't move. And then goes in flour. I'm using all-purpose flour or plain flour. Now when you add flour, never add all the flour together. Add it in small batches. So I'm going to add half the quantity of flour first. You can use an electric whisk if you like, but I prefer to use a spatula or even a spoon would do. Just want to make sure that the flour mixes with the herb and the water. The flour and the water have come together to form the dough. It's a bit sticky and that is the way it is supposed to be. So don't get very alarmed. Oh, my dough has gone too sticky, what do I do? In case the liquid is a lot more than required, you can always add a little more flour and make it firmer. Now this is almost ready, but I'm going to finish it off by lightly kneading it onto the workstation. So dusted some flour. It's still a bit moist. I'm going to work the dough on the tabletop. And gently with your fingers, just lightly fold the dough into the loose flour. And what you would get is a very nice soft dough. You don't need to overwork the dough. If you overwork the dough, it will become quite stiff and it won't be nice and soft. There we are. The dough is nice and soft. Look at that, how pliable the dough is. If the dough is nice and soft here, the end result is also going to be a nice soft bread. Okay, this is done. Now this goes back into my bowl and I will let that rest for a good half an hour. I'm going to cover with a piece of cloth and just let that stay for half an hour for the bread to rest and to rise till it's almost double in size. The dough has now rested and risen. I'm going to transfer it back to my workstation. But before I do that, I am going to add a little flour. Yeah, look at that. It's a very soft dough. Dust it with a little more flour. I'm going to lightly just knock it. At this stage, I'm going to divide the dough to make it into smaller portions. The whole trick is now to then roll the small bowl into a log or more like a stick, and gently with your fingers you roll the dough till you make them slightly elongated. Again, they're very, very soft. I've got a roasting tray. I'm going to lightly dust a roasting tray with some flour, and the breads go in. Again, lightly dust your hands with some flour, and all you do is you're going to elongate the dough. It's just slightly irregular shape is perfectly fine because they look very organic and nice. You don't want like a perfectly round shaped up kind of a dough. Also, when you put them onto the tray, keep them apart by approximately 1 centimeter because they will again rest for 20 minutes and they will again rise. And the whole idea is when you actually cook them in the oven, they will tend to stick to each other. So here we are. The bread rolls have been all rolled out. They've gone onto the tray. And I can see there's a small gap between the two. Now this will further rest for 20 minutes under a cloth, and in 20 minutes time the bread will again rise up, and then we put it in the oven to bake. And the reason for keeping it slightly apart, if you remember, was once they swell up they will stick to each other, and when they cook it will give a very nice kind of a glaze to it and it will look very nice. This is now going to be kept aside for 20 minutes to rest. The bread has now rested for 20 minutes, and as you can see, it has already swollen up. Now this will go into a preheated oven at 180 degrees centigrade or 350 degrees Fahrenheit for approximately 20 minutes or until the bread is cooked. Let's put it in. Oh, the bread smells so nice. There is something very special about freshly baked bread. It is so aromatic, it's so welcoming. Now once the bread is done, as you can see, it's got a very nice color on it. I'm going to lightly baste that with some melted butter. So literally just apply butter on the rolls. When you apply butter onto the hot bread, the bread basically absorbs all the butter and makes it nice and moist. If you want, you can even sprinkle some oregano on top. It will work well. There we are. The bread is now ready, and I'm going to quickly dive in and have a bite. Look at that. Oh, it is beautiful. I'm already salivating. Yeah, you can see that. It's got lovely aerations inside. It's got nice and fluffy. It's got a crisp exterior but a very nice soft interior. Time to taste. Wow. Wow. Very nice, very pleased. So make sure you guys try it at home, make it for your friends and family, and do not forget to tag me. So until next time, happy cooking.